And I have the great honor to welcome Mishal Hamid Kanoo.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm given the undaunting task of trying to talk to you about family business. And I'm laughing because I live it every day. And the issues we talk about will be conflict management. By the way, I don't know if you know that what is currently called conflict management used to be called conflict resolution. But the funny thing is that we discovered as humans, resolution only happens when you die. So we manage the conflict. We don't resolve it. The other part will be succession planning. But conflict management and succession planning are two things that you have in normal business. The one thing that we have as special in a family business is family dynamics, because it adds a certain amount of flavor. We're the chili pepper in a business, the succession planning. You can see this as it comes in and has an effect on how we work and we function as a business. Now, I used to teach fundamentals of family business at the American University of Sharjah. And I have one of my ex-students here who's actually working with me. And he can testify to this. I used to ask my students first and foremost, how many of you here are members of a family business? The hands will go up. How many of you here are want to work in a family business? And hands will go up. And then I tell the ones, and those who are coming here as an elective. And I say, those who want to work in a family business, who are members of a family, stay, and all the other ones, shut up. And my advice to you, run. Run fast, and now, because you will be sucked into this vortex you will not be able to get out of. And I've had students, years later, contact me and say, I wish I listened to you. As enjoyable as it is to be in a part of a family business because you have a lot of protection in it, it does come with a lot of pain. And I'm listening to the professor here, and there was a part of me wants to laugh. Not because what he's saying is wrong. No. In rational thought, yes, it works. But in family business, conflict management, and let me put it this way. Do you know, out of curiosity, how many of you have been divorced? None? Wow, impressive. Okay. Of those who have gone through a divorce, how many of you have enjoyed it? Because what happens is you think, on the rare occasion, you do have the two parties splitting out happily. But in most cases, it doesn't happen that way. And it builds, and it starts to build, and it becomes more personal, and more personal, and more personal. And you know what? You know what causes wars to end, divorces to happen? Exhaustion. I get tired. I'm tired. I can't do this anymore. And I need to go. I need to stop. So when you understand these aspects, you'll start to understand how family businesses function. Family businesses are unique in how it works and how they work, and they can create either a lot of joy or a lot of pain. The joy usually happens around the second generation. And I say that because the first generation, the person who's creating this business is working like a dog. No, really working like a dog. Killing him or herself, trying to create something, giving up of his or her time which would have gone to the family to build something. The second generation, on the other hand, have seen enough of the pain that the generation before them has gone through, and are now enjoying some of the fruits of the benefits of what has happened in the generation before them. But the third generation, this is why you have the cycle from grandfather to grandchild. The third generation is disconnected completely from the first generation, from what went through to make this happen. And then you start to see this start to spiral and break up. And because there is no connection to what had happened in the past, you will start to see that they are less involved in the business, less concerned about the business, and more concerned about their own personal benefit. And when you start reaching that point, then it starts to spiral out. Now, businesses, family businesses also have a different cycle than regular businesses. Because if you have a new family dynamic happening with the first, second generation, or third generation, or fourth generation, acts as a first generation where they're starting to rebuild something, then the cycle starts again. So it depends on how you interact with it and how you benefit from it. Now, for me, again, trying to focus on the three issues, which are always going to be conflict management. And conflict management, if you understand it from the beginning, you can actually manage it. The problem is most families don't function with that mindset. Succession planning is also something that you can think through, understand, work it through before it happens. There's a saying in family business circles, and I'm sure many of you who are family members of a family. This saying goes, failing to plan is to plan to fail. Simple as that. And then the last one, which is of course the big one for me, is family dynamics. And I say it's the big one because in family dynamics you have so many factors that can come to play. It'll be interesting to see, by the way, with the way AI is moving, whether I can actually take these factors and put them in there and try to actually find the model that actually works. Because we as humans find ways to create new problems, new ideas of destruction. And the job of the family is to find a way to, as much as they can, to lower that down, to tone that down. So let me start off with the first one, which I like to talk about, which is an easier concept, which is conflict management. Conflict management comes from when you have vague ideas, when you allow different thought processes to come in, and worse off is when you allow third parties to affect. When you have those things, those factors coming in, it becomes harder and harder to manage a conflict. I'll give you an example. By the way, don't put it past even your closest person that you interact with being the cause of your problem. In the case of a divorce, you might have a best friend who is trying to tell you, by the way, I'm using this a lot because there's so many similarities between the two. You might have a best friend who comes and tells you, don't worry, everything's going to be fine, etc., and talks to you and encourages you, and then will throw a hint. Oh, but did you hear what he or she is doing? Now you have that happening in the same mindset. Now you're thinking, this is my best friend, or this is my guidance, or guideline, or somebody who's actually important and significant in terms of how to manage this issue I'm having. And they're telling you all the right words. 90-something% of what they're telling you is are the right words, and you are happy to hear it. And then they will throw a small little thing. Oh, did you pay attention to this? Or did you hear that? Or did you see what he or she did or said? Now, because our mindsets as humans is the person who's telling us all the good news, we start to tend to believe them. And then they give us a small little thing. In conflict management, a lot of the family problems could be led by somebody in the back. A friend, a colleague, an advisor, any of them, who will come and tell you, you know what, everything's fantastic. No, please try to do this, fix this, move towards this idea. But pay attention to that point. And all of a sudden, that point becomes a more significant point than anything else. And they play this solely because the one thing we don't understand as a family, from those who are interacting with us as a family, it benefits. I benefit as a third party to have a conflict continue. even for a short time, it benefits me. Because this way, there's no way in hell anyone's going to fire me if I am an officer within the company. Because you're too busy fighting with one another. You're not interested in me. And I can prolong, and especially if I'm getting a nice sweet check every month, I will continue to do this. These are things we need to think about. Not all of our advisors are actually advising us for our benefit, but rather for their benefit. Now, question is, are we intelligent enough to be able to pick this up, utilize it, and stop them? And believe me, when that stops, a lot of the problems dissipate. Because there's no one staring it up. Again, any lawyers here? No? Okay, good. How many lawyers do you know in a divorce, and again, I'm going back to this as an example. How many lawyers do you know in a divorce who are going to tell you, you know what, this is the easiest way to finish this? He has you on the clock. He wants you to continue doing this. Oh, and by the way, on the other side, there also is a lawyer who wants you to continue doing this. In a family business, you will have somebody like that. He or she will want to keep you on the clock because they benefit. Again, we are so into it. When you're into this war, you're so into it, you can't see straight anymore. Rationality goes out the window. So please pay attention when such issues pop up. Please pay attention. Who is advising me? What are they telling me? And is there a way to rationally come to a solution? Because if you don't, everything you've done will start to unravel. And it's dangerous. The rifts that happen in family businesses, and I can give you example after example after example, but the rifts that happen in family businesses, once they happen, are near, I will not say impossible, but near impossible to put back. And it will no longer affect the business, it'll affect personal life. And we see that this happens, doesn't go just from one generation along on a level playing field. No. It goes from one generation down to the next, down to the next. And maybe the third generation has absolutely no idea what happened in the beginning, but because my father or my grandfather or my aunt got hurt, I don't like this side. You don't need that. So managing this, to be able to control this, starts from the beginning. And if you want to do proper conflict management, start by putting, by the way, I agree with the doctor on this one, start by putting the proper ground rules. And the proper ground rules mean nothing if there's no governance to enforce it. This is important. A lot of families here talk about, we have a family constitution. A family constitution means nothing if you don't believe in it and you don't utilize it. You don't live it every day. I don't need necessarily a referee over me to say this is right and this is wrong, an arbiter. I don't need that. But what I do need to understand is once we agree a framework of a family constitution, how to best apply it in our everyday life. The thing is, what we do, a lot of families, what we do when we form the constitution, it's a driven constitution. It's not a consensus constitution. People have not bought in. If you don't buy in, if you play any game and you change the rules as you like, I mean, one of my favorite ones is Monopoly. I love playing Monopoly. And I love playing the banker in Monopoly. Because whenever I don't like, when I'm not winning, I just, give out a bit more money. All of a sudden, things start to flow. Because I changed the rules. If you can change the rules, then nobody knows what are the rules, and then everybody starts to play who can control the rules. And then that will cause major conflict within any business, but especially within family. Because families take everything personally. The next step is to think about succession planning. If I plan, how do I plan? Is family planning saying, oh, you child number whatever, or you cousin whatever, you're going to be the next boss. Is that what family planning is? Sadly, most family businesses, most, not all, again, depending how sophisticated the family is, and how knowledgeable the leader is, will think along those lines. Succession planning is to say, okay, these are the criteria I need for my business. Everyone who falls under the family business umbrella, or family within the business umbrella, you need to go and do A, B, C, D, E, F. And now we have, instead of one flower, I have a bouquet of which I can pick from to come and take over. Because if you don't have that, I assure you, historically, every strong leader, every strong company, a strong company with a strong leader, upon the death of the leader, the company starts to slowly unravel. Some cases it unravels really fast, and some cases it takes a long time to unravel, but it will unravel. The reason is because no planning was done. You need to plan to say, you know what, in order to be, I have a fantastic business, I need to have a person who can negotiate, I need a person who can understand, I need a person who's paying attention to what's happening in the future. I'm putting all of the criteria I want for my business to continue. But if I don't do that, if I just say, you know what, my eldest son is going to take over. Maybe your eldest son is not the most qualified person. And that will lead to the next one, which is family dynamics. And I have seen this so many times. Family dynamics is the dotted line in any business, where you can go around things. When you have a problem in a family structure, you can see it clearly come through. So I'm going to give you an example. I'm the father. I have a family business. I have 2 kids. Just think about this. I have 2 kids. The eldest is not so smart. The youngest is a firecracker. He or she is absolutely brilliant. Now, if I go by the normal family concepts, my successor is going to be the eldest. Yeah, well, guess what? If you put your business that you built in his or her hand, you can imagine what's going to be the result of that. If you put the business in the young one's hand, you can imagine what the business will happen, what type of business will happen. Here again in family dynamics, you have also culture coming in. In some cultures, it's a very male-oriented, male-dominated. In some cultures, it's very first-child-dominated. There's social stigma. What happens to the first child if you don't give the first child the status that he or she wants? What do you do about these things? This is certain things that family business have to take into consideration. But again, do you want to have a business or not? That's a question you have to ask yourself. So in the model I've given you, the first child is not so smart, not so great. And the other one is. So the natural instinct, and forgive me on this, I used to teach this to my kids, to my students, male traits and female traits. Of course, watching them here in this part of the world was always fun, because when I say, you have a female trait, and they go, oh, no. Yes. Female traits are consultative, listening, open, consensus. Male traits, quick decision-making, fast action. Those are a few of these traits. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are effeminate or that you are very masculine. But it's getting that. So you go back to that example I was giving. So the first child is not exactly the smartest cookie. The second one is. And you are in a culture that says the eldest one has to get the opportunity, the job. Has to be the successor. But you're thinking, you know what? No, I don't want him to be the successor. He obviously is not being good enough. I want the younger one to be the successor. And so you start pushing more towards the younger one and start praising the younger one. You know what happens? Now, in any other business, there's really not much recourse. But in a family business, this is what happened. The other child who didn't get will go and complain to his mother. And as you're having dinner, because family business is the beautiful thing about family businesses, is business doesn't stop. Whether you're on vacation, whether you're having lunch, whether you're going out on an outing, it doesn't stop. You're talking about business all the time. The conversation will happen, Mama, Baba's giving all this thing to my younger sibling. I'm getting nothing. I look like an idiot. No one's paying attention to me. Mother's mentality is, I want equality for both. What do you think Mama's going to do? She's going to sit and, I won't use the word nag because it's not fair. She's going to hint, consistently hint in his ear, the father's ear, give more to the unqualified child. Can you see a problem happen? Can you foresee the problem as it comes through? So what will happen? You will incentivize somebody who is not qualified, and you disincentivize somebody who actually is qualified. You will demotivate him. The one who actually can do will be demotivated. The one who can do will actually start to believe he is qualified. And what do you think will happen to the business? It doesn't take much of a genius to figure this out. It's not going to take long before that business starts to fall apart. If you can see it ahead of time, you can fix it ahead of time. One of the problems we try not to do is see issues, see problems, because it's painful. Have you ever experienced this, by the way? I've seen enough on dramas and in real life where people have said this, and I always thought it was funny. A woman gets angry with her husband because she suspects he's cheating. It's really angry. She says, listen, I know you're cheating. Just admit it. And the stupid man, because he's stupid, will say, oh, okay, yes, I am cheating. And all of a sudden, all hell will break loose because what was a theory became a reality. She thought that that's the case, but now that you've confirmed it, it became a reality. It's the same thing in any family business. What you think might be the case, when it's confirmed by the authority that you're interacting with, becomes a reality. And when it becomes a reality, there's really not much you can do about it. So when you can see problems happen before, you can fix them. You can address them. Even if you think it's there, do not push towards finding out. Push towards fixing them as much as you can. Push towards trying to find solutions. Give the other party the benefit of the doubt, because there might be a chance for that party to want to fix his or her action. All of these things, honestly, make us as a family business, in the family business world, unique. We have an effect on economies. You would not believe how much of an effect we have on economies. One of the things I thought of and still think of, and when I interact with people, I say this. If I have 100 employees, I don't have 100 employees. I have 300 mouths to feed. Because I'm thinking of a person, spouse, and a child, at the very least. If that person makes a mistake, you want to give them the benefit of the doubt that they can correct it. If they make a bigger mistake, again, you might want to, until they do something really significant, then you say, I part ways. I've tried, you didn't care. I tried, you didn't care. End of subject. You try to imagine this within a family business. When we are significant in terms of the economy, the GDP, and we are significant in terms of the employment as family businesses globally, we have these issues. We cannot afford to have our businesses collapse because of personal things, because our collapse of our businesses affects a lot of people. So, and I don't want to, what you call it, end on a rather negative note. I want to end on a happy note. We do have a positive, there is a lot of positive feelings within family businesses. We can help create a lot of good. We can make people benefit in their lives. We can help springboard a lot of great ideas. A majority of a lot of you here will be, I think, for parts of family offices. You're the family offices that invest in new ideas, in new thoughts, in new processes. You're moving the world. You're actually doing something that's very positive. The question is, I don't want to have an engine that creates all this goodwill, good ideas, good thought, and change the change that they can change the world with, be affected in the background by something that actually affects this growth, which is a family. At the core, family is family. Keep that in mind. And by the way, anyone who is working with a family business, please keep that in mind. Family is always going to be the core. No matter how much I try to ingratiate myself, I'm always going to be one step away. If I want to succeed as an outsider, I need to help the family keep unified, not split. And as a family, we should be intelligent enough to understand there are certain things that we can do and certain things we can't do. And we need to find third parties, advisors, good advisors, third parties who can help us in our issues, whether they are business issues, whether they are family issues. We need to structure certain things. We need to have rules, regulations. We need to have enforcement of these rules and regulations, but not a police force and regulation, but rather a consensus that we all benefit from this. And I cannot think my benefit has to harm somebody else. If I think along those lines, if it's just me, in any family business, if any member starts to think me, it's just me, he or she is the one you want to weed out and say, you know what? The one thing that most family businesses abhor, fire a family member. Prune that tree. You're better off having a stronger branch that can go higher than many branches that actually will end up strangling your tree. It's hard. It's not easy, but it can happen. You're going to have 2 days of great speakers, I'm assuming, who will tell you more about family businesses and how family businesses function. But I want you to keep in mind, remember, as I said just a few minutes ago, the key here is, the key word in family business is family. It's not business. The business supplies the family. That's the family. Otherwise, it's just a business. And how do families function is dependent on how a family feels unified together. Unity in a family does not happen out of just goodwill. Unity in a family happens because people are willing to give up their own personal benefit for the majority. But the majority cannot and should not take advantage of that person. It has to be a two-way street. When you have that family unity, you have the knowledge about what I need to get done, how it should be done, how to interact with one another. When you have that, you have the recipe for a successful family business. And on that note, thank you very much.